Welcome to Horizons Person to Person podcast. Today we're with Bizerka and we're going to be talking about racial justice and social equality. And I hope that we have an open dialogue that will help all of us to become more self aware. Thank you so much, Bizerka, for joining us today. What
Well,
is
thank you for
one
having me.
what is one thing that you would really like someone like myself who is a person of privilege as a white person to know? What is something that you feel is really important for me to understand?
I feel that it is very important to understand that until you've had the opportunity to actually experience, you may not have the knowledge to understand and actually empathize for others who do not have those same opportunities. So, in order to gain some of that knowledge, to have that empathy and possibly share with others so that you realize how those differences are really there, take some time to go out and actually live it, see it, be it. Don't take that opportunity that you automatically have. Choose to take a challenge. I think it's important for us all to realize that we need to do that instead of automatically taking advantage of any powers that we may feel we have automatically because of the color of our skin. Our skin color should not be our privilege.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's frustrating that in 2021 we're still fighting for basic equality. As an
Yeah.
LGBTQ person, there's a little of that I experience, but not to the degree that you experience.
Growing up, I had to deal with challenges on both sides, whether it being black or white, and that's of being mixed culture. So, being on the white side, a lot of people that were white rejected me, and being on the black side, a lot of people from the black rejected me. So that kind of took all those privileges away from either side, really, in a mixed culture.
Wow.
It's hard to fit in anywhere, and it's hard to be accepted. And when you have both sides clashing against you, those privileges that some may see as beneficial don't realize that their benefits that they may have are gone for me also, such as the Black Lives Matters or the supporting systems that are there to help them learn more about their culture. When you're rejected from your own culture, how do you learn? How do we learn from each other to even be better people if you can't get it from either side?
Wow. I can't even imagine that. History is so important to all of us to understand who we are. And if you're denied access to your own history, that must be very isolating.
It can be, and it can make it challenging to understand what you're supposed to do, which I think we see a lot of with the mixed cultures. And
Hmm.
even with some of the African American or white cultures, when we did a lot of the mixing, I noticed in probably the 90s and 2000s, there was a lot of argument, if there's not still today, of one culture choosing another culture for the privileges, such as the black man choosing the white woman so that he could get privileged. I think that placed a lot of negative for that word privilege, and it created a larger gain for that person that felt they were going to get some sort of privilege because of someone else's color, those mixed relationships. That happened everywhere. And then all of a sudden, we're repeating the same thing that we had done years ago, being placed in these separate categories, is which I call them, of an individual in order to get something. So you have to be with this white person to get a privilege. That was a feeling. There you're set in a category now from a black side as the black man who wants to be white. It was just crazy how we did that, but yet still today we're doing those same things over and over and over. It's almost as if all the risks that people took to make change all it did was make a few people go, oh, that's interesting. And then we have to actually live it to experience and go, oh, they were serious about that.
Wow.
It's a challenge.
I had friends who, in the 80s, who had mixed interracial parents. Um, I I didn't see a lot of that because, again, being white, I didn't see the issue with the interracial. I just thought white guy with, he was married to an African American woman. So I was like, okay, whatever. They fell in love. I didn't see it as a someone was seeking privilege or anything like that. I just saw it as they fell in love and they had children, and the children were sweet, and I had, she was a friend of mine, and they all had interesting names I hadn't heard before, and I was like, so I asked about where their names came from, how they came up with those names because I wanted to understand. And I was only 9 at the time, so maybe that was inappropriate, but it was really a great experience to me because I was just welcomed by the family. I was brought to their family gathering, so I really enjoyed the time I got to spend with them. And I didn't, at 9 you don't get to, you don't really understand, so
And not all people did that. There were those who did, but there are a lot of families that weren't thinking that category of trying to get that privilege. But because of the negatives from the
yeah,
two cultures clashing, that's where that came in, that category, where it was automatically thought by a large amount of Black people that that's all it was about. Not
right,
saying that that was, but it became that and caused more of that anger. And I guess that's kind of what I was focusing at, is not that it
yeah,
was happening in every relationship, but it was a tag when it was seen by a lot of Black people that that's what they were doing. That white woman marrying that Black man, they just wanted to get the privileges. And again, that hate and that anger that just automatically comes out for no reason because
yeah,
of what someone may have felt or may have done is what causes, I believe, a lot of this confusion for us all over the place, to where you have to actually live it and experience it before you can judge it. And you're not even supposed to judge, but you shouldn't even be automatically just saying, see what they're doing if you haven't even lived it.
yeah. I know that you've been working really hard about educating all of us with the world you're building in Horizon right now, and one of the worlds I went into, and I can't remember the exact name of it, so I'm not going to butcher it. But what were you hoping? It was a cabin, and there's, I believe, they're slaves, and they're mistreated by the masters. I guess that's the right term for it. But anyways, what are you trying to teach? Because like as soon as I think about it, all when I saw that world, I was in like almost in tears looking at that little child, in the front, and even now thinking about it. So, what is the message of that world that you're trying to teach?
My goal with the link of worlds that I want to put together with that is to actually let people live it again, that living the experience, going into these worlds and interacting, seeing, feeling, possibly recognizing where some things could have been done differently. One of them is called Salvage. That is more of a beginning section where you go in and you just get to see a specific location, the the owners or leaders, masters, whatever they want to call them back then, how they were treating people of color. And that's where it starts out. You get to look around a little bit and see what it was like. And then there's different sections that will go from there, such as the hutch, which you will go in and actually interact in the hutch, the evening, eating the meal, the way they slept, how there were multiple people in there trying to survive in small areas. There's going to be a home that a slave, a person player that goes in will be the slave and go in and have tasks they have to complete and see how hard it was to get those done. And there will be the interaction of what the slave owners may have spoke rudely to them or treated them for simple mistakes. There'll be goals that you won't be able to reach and how you will be treated because you can't reach those due to the high expectations just because of being a slave. That's the goal, is going in and actually living it, letting people go into these worlds, be the slave, and see how it feels.
You called the room that they were in a hutch, and most of us know how small hutches are for they're just hold things for our cabinets, like dishes and such. And really, it really wasn't much bigger than that, and that was really surprising and very sad. Also, just realizing how small their areas were, and I was
Yes.
it was really shocking, that.
And there was very little. At the time when there were slaves, the people of color were treated with minimal, I guess you want to say, benefits or payment for what they had to do. It was not, we were not seen as an actual person. We were seen as an animal, one that is to complete a task. And a long time ago, even the dogs and whatnot, they were fed the bones and the leftovers of meats and whatnot, was exactly what the black slaves were fed for what they were
Wow.
doing. It was not an equalness. It was not any kind of vision where that is a person working for me, so I have to provide them some sort of benefit for their work. It was, you are to do the work, and if you get something, I'll give you some leftovers. And they had to survive and accommodate for what they had, even their living arrangements. They were small, multiple people had to be in them and figure out how to be as comfortable as possible to make sure they stayed alive. There was a lot of work that people don't realize, and I'm hoping that these worlds will let them go in and experience some of that.
It's absolutely incredible. Like I said, that world was moving and jarring at the same time. And the jarring aspect is one that's been sitting with me for a while now since I first got to go to that world. And then I went to another world that you're working on where you're, using it to talk to people and open up dialogue. And there was a very specific word you used, and it had to do with culture, I believe. And again, I'm still learning all of these terms. So, what was that world? What's that one called, and what was the panel that you had? I really wished I could have attended, but I had something else.
Well, I'm working on multiple different worlds. There's specific, well, it's not detail, I guess it's definition of
Okay.
words, such as diverse and multicultural.
Okay.
And I feel that even today, a lot of people don't understand the difference between the two. So I want to bring that, again, knowledge, people to understand that there's a difference and see what that difference is. Because sometimes, again, you can tell anybody anything and they don't understand because they have a different interpretation or understanding of what you're trying to express. In the VR worlds, you can go in and show them. They can actually experience what that definition could mean, such as diversity being acknowledgement and multicultural being of interaction and actually experiencing other more than one culture. There's a big difference between the two of them. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand, that being diverse is not being multicultural. And the world would be much better if we could just establish a multiculturalism that will make it a lot more comfortable for all people, because multicultural is not just a skin color. It is sexuality, it's religion, it's culture, it's race, it's all of them united, and people being willing to live those things, experience those things, accept them, be happy. There's no reason to say I'm diverse because I'm aware of it, so it's okay. That's just saying you know others exist. Many don't know that.
I'm sorry, I'm just pondering what you're talking about and feeling it and understanding where my own lack of information is. And it's profound, you know, just because I go out and I do stuff to try and help bring awareness. And I keep my mouth shut when it's important to be quiet and listen. But it's still very discomfiting. I know I have so much more to do. So for me, I'm trying to go to your worlds and just see how bad and then go, well, how can I fix this? I can't fix the past, but I can definitely work on where I am now, and understand where my lack is.
Many of us many of us don't realize a lot of the differences. And I think one of the biggest things, which I don't think is going to change because we've done it for so many years, but one of the biggest things I think prevents us from noticing a lot of differences is what we're taught from the time we're born. And from the time we're born, we are shown and told that a color that is dark is to be feared. And it's not something intentional that someone is trying to be a white supremacist and make someone not acceptant of another culture. It's more in the aspect of if everything of darkness is evil, death, hate, hell, scary, the black cat, the witch, hell itself full of nothing but darkness and anger, but yet the color white is shown as glorified beauty, heaven, our God, everything of purity. We are not going to see a person of color who may be dark automatically the same as a person who is white. And not because we're racist, but because that automatic thought in your mind has already been taught. And this is my personal feeling that that is something that could be scary. Have caution. It might get you. Those thoughts, they're deep in us. I do it myself. You look in a dark area and you don't automatically think, let me go look and see. It's, do I have a flashlight? Am I going to be, is there something in there? It's an automatic feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when everything of darkness is that, and then you see a person of color, you look at them and, oh, that's a cool person. But your mind is thinking, are they scary? Are they okay? Well, I don't know. Do I want to find out? I'll wait and I'll see if they come to me. If they come over here, then maybe I'll see. But otherwise, I won't go over there. No, I'll just wait. But that's that caution that we've already been, I guess, trained from the time we're born to have.
Mm.
So there's no recognition of changing that. There's no recognizing that it's there because it's an automatic thought. And I'm not saying that everybody is like that and that we are all just scared of everything. But I am saying that I believe that is something that we have trained ourselves of an automatic fear. And it makes it harder to get past and for us to just accept everybody as equal.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, it's true. If I'm alone at night in the dark alley, yeah, I'm afraid of that because I don't know who or what could be in there. And I grew up reading books. The Minister's Black Veil, Scarlet Letter, and they all talk about the woods and the savages in the woods, right? That everything in the woods is bad. And yes, there were wolves
and
in
it's
the woods.
dark.
Yeah.
And mhm.
Yep.
And in
So yeah.
those people were of furry skin, or they were of darkness, or they were not, you could not see them because they blended in with the black.
Mhm.
There's so much description that brings that darkness
Yep.
to fear.
Yep. And it's and that's why I felt it was so important to have you here today. Please join us again next week for part 2 with Bizerka. We'll be visiting her world, Salvage, on Horizon's Person to Person podcast. We hope you have a great week.